Guys, I am so sorry, but I have to confess something. The Earth, it might be flat. WheresWally uploaded a series of videos of a rocket launched and perfectly synced them, and it looked like despite how much altitude the rocket had gained, it remained hidden behind the horizon for 95 seconds. I thought the Falcon Heavy launch obstructed behind the horizon for 95 seconds proved the globe. Then, Brian's logic did something in his video, and now I'm not so sure space is even real.
What are we seeing? The horizon is behind whatever's going on here. The horizon is behind it. So no matter what they have to say, this is a black swan. This is Wally's black swan.
I mean, that is just undebunkable, right? Is there any flat Earth debunker that will step up to the stage?
Did you guys see this? I didn't see this though.
No.
But this could just be the resolution that the camera's picking up the light. So it looks like it's in front, but it's not really. So you can't really say it's in front of the horizon.
Here. The horizon is behind it. So no matter what they have to say.
Because I would say we could say it's more behind the horizon if that light was maybe here, with the whole thing behind it. But because it's halfway up, you usually see. I don't know if you guys looked into if you look into the sun or something outside, and maybe there's like a pole or something in the way, or a roof or whatever, and they catch it by the sides. Almost like the light wraps around it. Looks almost like it's going through of it.
Yeah, again.
I think that's
if you look at sun through like trees.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and you don't
like it's on this side of tree branches sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what
I think that's what I think we're seeing. Yeah, actually. So yeah, I wouldn't agree that this is really in front of the horizon. But interesting, I haven't watched it, so I wouldn't know. I'll have to go watch it to get more context of what he's saying.
Say, this is a black swan. This is Wally's black swan.
However, I like this.
You see, there we go. That's what he's saying. You see, it looks like it's there, but it's... Although this one could also be part reflection.
Yeah.
Because it's at an angle that it could be reflecting as well. But it's getting what it's saying. It gets my point.
Well, Flatsoid, is this reflective material? Thanks, Flatsoid. I seriously was just starting to doubt the globe or a second. Thank you for being a fantastic flat Earth debunker. Since it's quite obviously not in front of the horizon, and indeed remain behind the horizon, or 95 seconds, flat Earth is done.
As you've realized, Flatsoid's perspective channel has changed. There is a big reason why I'm doing this. I feel that this whole flat Earth environment is a bit toxic, but not based from flat earthers itself, mostly from the anti-flat earth side.
Shut up!
You think?
Shut up! Stupid man! Yeah, I hate you.
Because they seem to be very obsessed and very personal in their attacks, because we don't have the same belief system as them and their globe cults.
Well, a couple of years ago, the USSF 67 Falcon Heavy launch was demonstrated by a YouTuber, WheresWally, to absolutely ruin Flat Earth. A Flat Earth YouTuber, Flatsoid, attempted to debunk Wally, but then Wally was quick to expose Flatsoid's lies. Also, it is obvious, but this is an AI voice, so it may not sound great. Anyways, there were a few more responses from Flatsoid, full of lies, that I would like to finish debunking, and a few from Brian's logic. This includes Flatsoid's slight response to WheresWally's video, his response to PD 1940's video, which debunked his response to Wally. And of course, the comedy I showed at the beginning, where Flatzoid was trying to debunk a Dave McKeegan video. Let's start off with his response to WheresWally's legendary video.
I want to watch this. I want to get where he starts. And yeah, the whole video, he literally says, oh, it's level. Yeah. And then says, I'm making his point when I say yes, level. He doesn't get when he says level, it means no curve. And the argument about the Tycho crater on the moon is a total idiotic false equivalence, because when we're talking about the angles, it's the angle to the horizon, not the angle to the moon. The moon is sitting up there. The horizon is sitting that way, forward, down by you.
Words of wisdom.
Who said that?
Where's Wally? He says then it should be too small. You see, it's too small, making his point. The moon is up there in the sky. You don't have a limited angle to the moon, do you?
What, so they were comparing moon to that, like, little blob that they called a rocket on the horizon.
Yeah, I don't know. The guy doesn't really get what the hell he's talking about.
Well, that reminds me that later on, you went to claim that the moon was below the clouds. If it's that low, explain every single observation of the moon. The second video on my channel completely debunks you on this anyway.
I mean, he had his ass handed to him by Mitchell several times. He's even been on FED and had his ass handed to him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, guys, I'm so happy he put this graph in.
Me too.
There's a reason why I did what I did when I said I didn't take acceleration into account.
Yeah, it is because you completely forgot. Just admit it.
He should have been honest and showed the comment when I said, yes, I did it left in so you can do the maths.
There's no comment that I found saying you did that intentionally. And even if you did, it's been years, Flatzoid. We still have nothing from you in regards to that.
It's for this reason. So you'll see why. The guy thinks I just leave it in because of stupidity. No, I do things for a reason.
Yes, people who lie do lie for a reason.
Hi, Mr. Jaco. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. A good point to make is when they speak of refraction, ask why things even further doesn't refract, and he must refraction a stopping point, so please explain. That's good point.
It's really not a good point. Refraction varies every day.
Okay, I'm trying to look where... Oh, there, it pops up on screen. Read what he says on screen, guys. This tells you someone doesn't have an argument when they put idiotic stuff like this. I am an idiot.
Idiot.
I can't do maths. Where's his hyphen apostrophe out?
But a Glober will jump out lawyer and say, you can't spell, you need to go to school. You know?
Yeah, I can't make editorial corrections. He literally just contradicted himself anyway with this. I can't make editorial corrections. What do you think these words are in here? Hey, Wally! Hey, mister, that can't let me get my argument out for your audience.
How?
You know, the one part I do actually have an argument, you forward out, so no one can hear what the hell's going on. Very honest of you. And you might want to get spelling lessons when it comes to what we call idiot.
You might want to learn how to spell your email correctly. But you were in a hurry, so I'll let it slide. And regarding Wally, leaving out your point, no. He sped past you saying the same thing, or 5 minutes straight. But don't worry. I'll make sure to point out how all of your points actually prove the globe. Thanks, Flatzoid.
And thanks for the maths. I was waiting for that. There's a reason why I asked for it, so you might want to wait for that.
Well, we've been waiting for 2 years and still nothing. Time to speed this up.
How's that black swan? How are you dealing with that black swan, Wally?
Always happens, doesn't it? Talk of the devil only appears. It just keeps happening.
They're always listening, mate.
I didn't. He says, oh, don't forget to criticize the font. Why would I criticize the font? I'm literally just telling you what your problem is here. You just contradicted yourself, saying I can't even make editorial corrections yet. What do you think I wrote in the bottom here?
If you actually corrected what you said, you'd have just removed that part of the video. You did not take acceleration into account, therefore your calculation was completely invalid. I'll skip through the parts of the video where they're just talking to each other and not really saying anything.
Yeah, WheresWally, maybe you want to watch Brian's Logic's latest video on it. He literally pointed out to you why it's a black swan, because like I was trying to explain to you as well, you show no curve and you literally debunked Coriolis.
Well, that is quite the contradiction. In the clip I played previously, you debunked Brian and showed how it is indeed not a black swan. But here, you are saying it is? What made you change your mind over the course of that year? The Wally's Black Swan video is the one I showed Flatsoid debunk at the beginning, and it appears that Flatsoid is talking about that same video here. This stream and the video from Brian were both on February 11th, 2023. Make up your mind, Flatsoid. In the clip earlier, you also claimed you hadn't seen it yet. So why'd you tell Wally that Brian's video debunks him if you didn't even watch Brian's video yet? Unless he was somehow talking about this video, but then I don't see why he would have brought up the black swan part. Either way, I'll actually get to that video after I finish debunking Flatsoid's responses.
But I want to show you guys when I do actually start bringing up an argument, what he doesn't present to you guys. Go and look at something that I created a while back. This is based on
curvature.
The equation. See what it is all the time while I'm busy talking. Gets that nonsense guy popping up to try and get you not concentrating on what I'm talking about. But let's go on. To Polaris. Every 600 nautical miles is going to drop 10 degrees.
And wow, I do love that graph that Flatsoid made. I would like to thank him for making it, as it completely debunks Flat Earth. We'll get to that soon, though.
Is he serious here? Is this a genuine attempt to debunk the globe, or?
It's me explaining to you guys why it's not Earth curve. So yeah.
I think you'll find that it absolutely is Earth curve.
Just because you're too ignorant to understand how perspective works, and I try to explain it in orthographic view, because orthographic view doesn't explain perspective. Explained this many times, by the way, live. Just shows you are either being willfully ignorant or dishonest.
Did Daniel...
Or is he joking?
Sorry?
Evidence. Did Daniel provide any evidence other than saying words to the effect...
Before we carry on, I forgot this bit.
Do you know what's really fun?
Dan, I'm sorry, but these ads are really starting to get on my nerves.
Holy 11 frames.
Flatsoid, pro tip. Please stop hitting your head. That might explain what's going on here.
Batman, I can't believe you A, created this, and B, thought you could use this to prove something, and C, thought we would not rip into you big time if you tried A or B.
Hey Rob Keen, member for 3 months. Awesome. Thank you very much for staying a member. You're awesome, guys. Yeah. So first of all, he brings up a attempted character assassination by bringing up 11 frames.
That's not character assassination, Flatsoid. It was a joke about your previous dishonesty.
The whole reason 11 frames exist, guys, is because your Earth is not physical, your curve, it's optical. So when you bring it up, you're conceding that your Earth curve is not physical. Thank you very much. So say 11 frames as much as you want. You're just too dumb to understand you're conceding no physical curve.
Aha. What?
They think they're just parroting some idiotic nonsense, thinking, oh, you took my curve away. Yeah. By taking an inferior mirage away, an optical effect took your curve away. Are you not clicking 1 + 1 is 2 there?
A mirage being there doesn't debunk the fact that Earth's curvature is what hid the capsule.
Yeah. Very simple stuff. But anyway, WheresWally, I want you to explain to your audience here why you didn't let them hear my actual argument. Because this whole part here where you're forwarding through was my argument for the video.
Because he already debunks what you said. You just repeat everything. But don't worry, because we will have lots of fun with that graph in this video.
You're going to cop a lot of flack about this one diagram, mate. I can assure you of that. Now, why did you feel the need to compress the x-axis, Flatsoid?
Because perspective. If you keep in touch with my channel, you would know that I've explained it live many times. I think at least 6 or 7 times, guys.
I'd love for you to explain how that matches perspective. And as PD 1940's video showed, your graph is built from globe data. We'll get to that shortly.
Different live streams. It's not actually how it is. It's trying to show perspective in orthographic view. You cannot, because orthographic view does not take perspective into account. This is just showing, you see this arc here is the reason you see that arc in the sky. That's why you guys claim it to be the ground arc. It's not because it's physically curved, guys. It's due to perspective.
Here's what it would actually look like. Notice how the rate at which the elevation angle to Polaris drops is not linear. On a flat plane, it would not drop at a linear rate. On a globe, it would. The sine, cosine, and tangent functions are not linear. We'll get more into this soon.
Distances don't change, as they are always constant, and that's the thing about standardized measurements. They're always the same.
Yeah. And Michael Kahn as well. Thank you. Where was the rebuttal, Wally? He never had a rebuttal the whole video, guys.
His entire video was thoroughly debunking you.
Where's Wally again? You're literally ignoring my argument here and you're forwarding it, so that's very dishonest. And now you can show for everybody, even on FTFE's chat, that you are dishonest to show my argument. You don't want to show the argument.
Say, every 600 nautical miles is going to be 10-degree jobs.
Which I just showed there.
You had to purposely distort the x-axis in order to make it fit, and even then it doesn't fit.
If you actually kept with my argument, you would be seeing that you're lying now. But congratulations.
How exactly is he lying? On a flat plane, the angle to Polaris, or any star at all, would not drop at a linear rate. In reality, every 60 nautical miles, their angles drop by 1 degree. That is impossible on a flat Earth.
Where's the atmospheric phenomena like refraction?
That absolutely does happen. What's your point? I find it weird that you bring that up, considering how much you deny globe refraction when it comes to things such as your black swan.
Well, good job. Not only are you admitting that Polaris observation won't fit on a flat plane, and
Making words in my mouth. I said it based on Polaris observation is how you got your equatorial measurements. Oopsie, so also lying and misrepresenting me.
Hold on, how do you measure angles to Polaris?
Flat baselines.
Exactly. So you're done there, Wally, mate. See you later.
The weird thing is I even have the flat math.
you just showed that you are a top left genius. Yep.
What's that math there? Is that based on a flat baseline math?
No, Flatsoid. It's not based off a flat Earth. Again, it wouldn't be a linear rate. Here's a simple diagram demonstrating how your math only works on a globe. Your angle to the star with the red tangent line, you subtract it from 90 to get the angle from the vertical. That angle is the same thing as the angle from the center of Earth to the star's geographical position. Using that angle, you can calculate the arc length or the distance to the GP. In this case, with the 60 degrees measurement, your distance would be 1,800 nautical miles. Using 1 degree every 60 nautical miles for 360 degrees, you get 21,600 nautical miles. I wonder why that number sounds familiar.
And it works? Oh shit. You should maybe rethink your strategy next time you want to have an argument, WheresWally.
Again, nothing he says from here on is valid, as his first major premise has about 10 to the minus 17 torque.
WheresWally says, it's an orthographic view. You do not put perspective and orthographic view. Ask an engineer. Yes, because orthographic view is not perspective based, and engineers do not work on things that are, let's say, 100 kilometers away.
So Wally's just debunked one of his own pounds.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're saying, these idiots. I'm sure they don't.
It's idiotic. It's literally, this that I created was literally just to show that that imaginary curve, when you
put it into perspective kind of terms, shows why you have your sphere.
Notice flatsoid, how in your graph, the altitude of the star needs to physically drop, not just apparently, as the observer gets further from the star. This is the only way it would work on your flat Earth. It's no secret that the star won't physically drop altitude. Therefore, your graph has completely invalidated flat Earth. Well done. This is why I like this graph, and why I'd like to thank you for creating it. Again, in reality, it would be like this.
It's as simple as that. But let's go on.
Or of suckiness. Yes, I know a vacuum doesn't suck, but it sounds a lot funnier. So let's fast forward to the fail that follows.
Thanks, Wally.
Wow, okay, maybe we can slow it down. Can't even slow it down to listen what it's saying, guys. How dishonest is that? So guys, when I do have an argument to present, he literally doesn't let you hear it. You know what that's called? Dishonesty. So thank you, WheresWally, for showing you don't have anything, and you literally all you do is insult, interrupt when I give an argument, and then be dishonest not to show when I do have arguments to give.
Well, flatsoid, he already debunked it. You basically repeated the same thing throughout the entire portion he sped up.
And then misrepresenting a lie about what I'm talking about. So congratulations, WheresWally. You've just been shown to be an outright liar and a prick. You literally just validated that with this video. You said it that way. Thank you. Yeah, that was the WheresWally video, guys. If you want to watch it, yeah.
Can I just say controls, right? Whoever times you that, constant moaning about it, I'm going to keep timing out all night. Or I just want to. I'm sick of hearing controls moaning. Time that, I mean, challenge this, challenge that, blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested. If you can time that, deal with it.
Yeah.
Keep going back and moaning about it constantly. I'll make sure that you don't come again.
Look at on your 50 comments, guys. How many flat does it take to remove 11 frames? One, because it only takes one guy to show you guys that your physical...
He then goes on a whole tangent about the 11 frames, which isn't what this video's about. Let's move to the next. So, I know AI will mispronounce it again, but PD194 made a video exposing Flatsoid's graph lie. It was absolutely amazing. First, however, I want to display one of Flatsoid's main videos on his graph, but just quickly, just so you can see how he is continually debunking flat Earth with this graph.
Okay, so I thought we can go on and make a bubble. Show you, look, he is looking at an 80-degree angle to Polaris, so Polaris would be at this 90-degree zenith. This is the Polaris GP, and this is Mike's GP. He measures 80 degree to Polaris. So how do we work this out? Not to know he's at his 80 degree latitude. Simple. He measured 80 degrees, so obviously he's at his 80 degree latitude. 90 minus 80 equals 10. So the co-altitude angle would be 10. So that's the co-altitude angle. And obviously, because a triangle, internal sum is always 180. So what's 90 minus 80? Obviously it's going to be 10, so there's your 10. Now we know this from this 90 from Mike to his field of view bubble there. The maximum he can go to workshop is 5,400 nautical miles. So obviously to his back, if you have to turn around, we have another 5,400 nautical miles. So that makes the great circle 10,800 nautical miles from left to right on the 180 degrees. So it's very simple. This just means you're at 80 degree latitude. And the distance from your latitude to the Polaris would be 600 nautical miles. I think that's made it very simple to understand. Let's do another one. Now, we are measuring 50 degrees. What would be his co-altitude angle? It would be 40 degrees. Why? Because 90 minus 50 equals 40, so that's your co-altitude angle. Times that by 60 because it's a minute of arc, and you get your 2,400 nautical miles. So Mike's GP to the star, which is Polaris GP, 2,400 nautical miles. His field of view still goes beyond that because he can see till 5,400 miles. So obviously there's more stars in the background till they've reached 0 degrees. What does it show if you had to show both of them compared to each other? From Mike's take with Polaris at 50, looking at 50 and we had it at 80, it showed a 30 degree of angular drop. That is just a perspective angular drop. It's an apparent altitude drop. It's not a physical drop. It's just following his field of view due to perspective. So.
You get the point. He used globe-based math the entire time and pretended it was based from a flat Earth. Nope. As demonstrated, on a flat plane, objects would not drop at a linear rate. I mean, look at this. Here he makes a coordinate system based off the linear drop rate, aka globe data. Absolutely amazing. Flatsoid truly is the best flat Earth debunker. But let's move on to his response to PD194 and debunk that. You may see a Chrome notification at the top of the screen because the first time, the 40 minutes of footage got corrupted, so I had to rush to redo it. Sorry.
Converges to give the appearance of Earth curve.
Let me just grab this for later.
Okay, before we go on, what do you think he's trying to show you? If you just watch that little piece of the clip, that first 56 seconds, what do you think he's trying to say there?
I think he's trying to say that you didn't calculate it right. You know, the compression you did is not accurate. Do you know what I mean?
It's kind of saying, like, I'm taking this and I'm calling it flat where it's based on Earth curve, in other words, which is totally false. It's not how I phrased it. That's not how I said it. He literally cut it in different things and made it try and sound that way.
It was me trying to explain how it converges to give the appearance of Earth curve.
This graph is not perspective based.
We know that if you had to put it in orthographic, it doesn't take perspective into view, so that's why it gives that compression on my graph. But I needed to do it like this on purpose to actually try and visually show you guys perspective in an orthographic view.
But they see it as physically dropping to 30 degrees on their ball. And that was me trying to explain it's based on a flat surface, only appearing to be there because of perspective.
Your graph literally shows that on a flat plane, for observations to work, stars have to physically drop altitude. However, on a globe, it is predicted for them to drop at a linear rate.
By his own admission, Flapside says he had to compress the x-axis because he wanted to give it the appearance of Earth curve.
No, see what I mean? By his own admission, he wanted to compress the axis to give it the appearance of Earth curve. When did I say that?
You're taking him out of context. By what you said, you compressed it to explain how it gives the appearance of Earth curve.
He put this on simply to show, look, trying to test, because remember they said these angles are wrong. But what's happening when he's taking every angle? It's literally showing the correct angles.
Your angles don't match reality. If Earth were flat-soid, you miss the point. Right now, PD194 has your graph on screen, and he uncompressed the x-axis. I did the same thing as you see here. See how much of a mess this is? The star has to physically change altitude for this to work.
My angles to be corrected.
But he doesn't elaborate on how he arrived at the compression values for each distance.
I did. You just took that math. Remember the math that was shown there that he cut out and took away? So he lied as well.
Yeah, globe-based math, flatsoid, as already covered.
600 nautical miles apart.
There we go. And what did I do lately? I did update it, did I not? With keeping them at every 600, correct?
Yeah, you did and debunked yourself with it, but we'll get to that soon. But again, here's mine. You can see how it completely debunks flat Earth, since the star would have to physically drop altitude as you get further from it.
But he did now, check. He changed it to the 600 nautical miles, you see there? But he's not showing the one I showed, did he? No, he wouldn't show the one I made, my updated version, because that would be dishonest. I mean, that would be honest of him. Instead, he wants to be dishonest.
No, if anything, he was being generous by not showing it, because you debunked yourself with it. Point is, there was no reason to compress the x-axis in the first place.
Well, as you can see, the personal bubble has to constantly change size in order to intersect each Polaris on the y-axis.
That's false. Because he literally made, it depends on how you place the angle on the vertical axis that makes it that way.
Ha! First of all, the y-axis isn't compressed. That's just where Polaris has to be depending on your position on a flat Earth, according to you. Try keeping the x-axis uncompressed and keeping each point there on the y-axis the same distance from each other. All I have to say then is, good luck with the angles.
But like I said, remember that field of view bubble was based on the compression of the y and the x-axis. That's why it worked out that way. Because perspective doesn't just work on one axis, it works on both axes. And that's why he's also dishonest. So by keeping just the one axis compressed and the other axis not compressed, obviously that field of view bubble has to change with the distance because it's not compressing in both ways, so it elongates. That's why the hypotenuse was brought in to explain the curve. Really odd that he's not showing anybody the hypotenuse argument, is it?
Again, the y-axis is not compressed, and what amazing word salad that was. Just admit that this graph proves the globe.
X-axis values, because I suspect the starting point was the working globe model.
Again, misrepresenting me? No, he suspects there was a working... No, I never touched the globe model.
No.
Remember that math that he took out in the beginning? I think we went 143. Let's go quickly back. This math here?
Yeah, I remember. Thanks again for proving the globe.
So yeah, this math is all based on 90-degree angles. That's what this whole graph was based on. That math. There's no globe whatsoever in that. And you would know this because I've said it many, many times. So when you say things like idiotic things, like you suspect I based it on a globe, you are literally misrepresenting me again.
No, he's not. Let's move on.
X-axis values, because I suspect the starting point was the working globe model.
And how wrong you could be. A 90-degree angle is not globe model. 90-degree angle is based on elevation angles. It's a horizontal. Like I've explained and like you had the math in the beginning, which you took out and deliberately showed not, trying to sway away from it to show your beloved followers.
No, you can get angles simply by just using a tangent line. And also, again, your math was based off a globe.
We're showing the globe people to be lying and misrepresenting us.
Nope.
A model which he desperately thought he could somehow translate into a flat plane.
Did I put any sphere math into this? No, I didn't.
There we go, he just debunked his own argument. Was he not even clever enough to realize what he just stated was just debunked by 2 seconds later by putting what I said in there? No, 90 degrees, PD. And by the way, you might want to keep this, stay tuned, because now we're going to show Sean Hawkins validating this graph.
That sure will be some comedy to see you try, and I'll debunk that too. But no, PD194 did not validate your point by just showing you saying that you didn't use globe math. In reality, you did.
It's around a quarter of its circumference is 5,400 nautical miles. When I split...
And my math showed 5,000 nautical miles to the horizontal.
Well done. You just used a number based from the globe.
Remember, these distances were derived from the equatorial plane, PT. So your globe is based from the flat, not the flat based from the globe.
No, you have it backwards. Your graph shows data based off the globe.
These 600s on the so-called, that you call in the surface because you had to duplicate the layers to the center of your sphere, is just you taking the angles that were measured on the field of view, the celestial sphere, and transponding them to the surface of your globe.
Amazing word salad again. But no, the 600 nautical miles is based from a globe, since every 10 degrees around the globe is 600 nautical miles. And again, on a flat plane, drop rate would not be linear.
And by the way, when you do actually model them in a three-dimensional program, they never, ever converge to one another. They actually diverge. QNFI has actually shown this many times as well.
No, you just don't understand how it works. The stars are so far away, including the sun, to the point that their light effectively come in parallel. For example, look at the sun's light hitting Earth in this 2-scale lunar eclipse diagram.
Parallel rays never converge, do they?
Distance is 600. So I'd imagine that Flatzoid did this.
No, I didn't need to do it because everything I did was based on the horizontal plane. That graph, the math, I didn't touch a sphere to do it because I didn't need to. A sphere comes after. You had to create the radius of 5,400 nautical miles, which was derived from flat measurements to make your circumference. So you already started it with flat measurements to make your circumference to make it on a sphere.
You use globe math. Just deal with it.
And then I reckon he got his ruler out to draw some drop lines to a plane.
I didn't touch a ruler either. I did it on my phone, by the way.
And I did this on my phone.
Tell me how these parallel rays are converging to each other. You study asteroids. You can't study asteroids. You can only assume asteroids.
The images look like something out of a movie. A tiny asteroid tearing through space at a speed of 33,000 miles per hour.
No doubt his next step was to measure the corresponding angles for each of these points.
False. Remember the math I had on? I already had the corresponding angles everywhere. The co-altitude angles, everything was there in the flat math. I didn't touch a sphere. So guys, remember, he's misrepresenting, making up stuff, and lying.
Did I use a sphere to get that distances?
No.
Looking at the distances again, you can clearly see that they're decreasing on the graph more and more with distance from the Polaris GP.
So guys, there we go. He literally just validated my graph.
If he validated your graph, he validated the globe. Congrats.
With the compression. Did you see that? He validated my graph. Let's go and look at that again. I'm going to just go back a bit and see how he literally goes, and each section matches up to what my graph shows.
Looking at the distances again, you can clearly see that they're decreasing on the graph more and more with distance from the...
So making my graph valid then.
All he did was expose how your graph is based off a globe. So if you agree, then welcome back to the globe. Goodbye, flat Earth.
So literally, remember, on his graph, on his circumference graph, is perspective taken into account?
No.
No, exactly. On my graph, I was trying to explain perspective. Remember, you cannot have perspective based on orthographic, but I was trying to explain it based with compression. And I got it very close. If you look at how his angles are matching to what mine are, they're compressing.
Very close indeed, Flatzoid. So close, in fact, that your graph validated the globe. It was compressed that way because you used a globe, as shown here from your own video.
Here are the angles. And if you bring in and overlay the graph image that I copied earlier, you can see that it's an exact match.
So therefore validating my argument from the beginning, PT, that we measure it on a flat horizontal plane and you guys interpret it onto a sphere. Welcome to Flat Earth, mate. So not only did he misrepresent me, lie about my argument, make up an argument for me, assumed things that never happened, debunked his own argument, and validated my graph, he's literally proving that the circumference is based from a horizontal plane. Thank you very much, PT.
How? All of that math is based from a globe. Once again, good luck having any of that math match a flat Earth. It's globe math. Deal with it.
You didn't know it would backfire that bad to you, did you?
Because these refer to the globe.
No, they don't. They don't refer to the globe. There's no globe there whatsoever. You guys interpret those distances into a globe. First horizontal, then to globe. First horizontal, then to globe. Not the other way around.
So it is true. You know what that's called? Dishonesty.
Exactly.
It was me trying to explain how it converges, to give the appearance of Earth curve.
See how he takes out of context again, guys?
He didn't take you out of context. You said that. Deal with it.
The hypotenuse line is the appearance of the Earth curve. It's to show you it's based on horizontal, it's optical perspective, and you translate it into Earth curve. That's the actual argument.
Other way around. You took globe data and tried to put it into a flat plane and failed heavily.
Flatsoid tried to translate the globe model to a flat plane and discovered his x-axis got distorted.
Nope.
But instead of going back to the drawing board, he decided to run with his creation and invented mobile personal bubbles.
You don't invent field of view bubbles. Field of view is a real thing. There's no such thing as inventing field of view bubbles.
The way you're trying to portray it is wrong.
Did I hear correctly? He's trying to claim that field of view doesn't exist. I mean, a field of view is a 360 degree around you. That means you've got a radius to that circumference, to that limit around you. 360 degrees around you. That's how field of view works.
North stars are varying heights. The globe model has no such issues. Polaris...
Oh, the globe model has many issues. You see these parallel rays that you're putting up? They don't converge ever. So in other words, you don't see Polaris at the same position.
Stays in a fixed position, hundreds of light years away. All you need to do is look and measure.
Okay, let's do this. 90 degrees up, guys. Let's go
the graphic view is simply...
Let's go to 60 degrees. It's straight up. Is 60 degrees showing to Polaris?
PT's here.
Hey, PT! You might want to watch from the beginning because you've literally been making my point and debunking yourself. Thank you very much. And showing how dishonest you are. Bob, where would you expect them to converge? In the vertical from Polaris, 90. That's how it works. That's why my graph shows it converging at the horizontal. So if you measured a 60 degree apparent altitude angle, you measured a 60 degree altitude angle. You do know every single one of these are literally 90 from the radius upwards. They're all parallel. They don't converge to Polaris at all.
Yes, Flatsoid, they do.
Angles are usually two straight lines. But yeah, they can take it because it's a tangent. So the tangent takes a straight line.
Well, thank you for admitting that, Flatsoid.
Every point's a new tangent, a new horizontal.
Yeah, so what?
If you drew that up, it'd look crazy.
That's why when they try and bring up elevation angles, their model falls flat.
The graphic view is simply a two-dimensional illustration of angles, nothing further.
And the globe model works perfectly without any wacky inventions. You have a point on Earth, a point out in space, and a line between them. You can then measure 60 nautical miles per degree for Polaris, or any other star for that matter.
So you see what we're saying? The co-altitude angle is what they are saying is converging. And if you actually, PT, if you actually take this and do an actual 3D model of this, not just like you're doing to an actual arbitrary point, it never converges, it actually diverges, by the way. Even QNFI has been showing this tons of times, showing it on 3D programs. AutoCAD shows the same thing, it never converges. That's why you guys are dishonest, not to show the end product. You just show these bottom angles on a sphere that's based on the horizontal, by the way. and you see those co-altitude angles, that's what you think is converging. It's not really. It actually diverges from one another. Remember what happens if something gets further away? It gets worse with discrepancy, not closer together. It's like taking a laser light. The further you go with the laser light trying to point at something, the harder it is to pinpoint its location. Wonder why that is. Yeah, they say Polaris is light years away, and yet they're basing it all from a flat horizontal, then just duplicating the layer to the center of Earth, and then calling the co-altitude angle the convergence.
This is what your math is based off of. It doesn't work on a flat plane. You're not duplicating a layer to the center of Earth. It is just basic trigonometry.
That will be shown next.
This that I created was literally just to show that that imaginary curve, when you put it into perspective kind of terms, shows why you have your sphere.
Flatsoid claims he's compressed the x-axis to match perspective. This is just simple trigonometry, which has been deliberately mislabeled and repackaged as some...
How's it been deliberately mislabeled and repackaged? Look, guys, what he's doing here. He's using the horizontal, the equatorial plane to do what now? To do what I did and then say I was deliberately misrepresenting it and mislabeling it. No, it definitely wasn't mislabeling it. I was very clear in what I said, PT.
First off, that's not a flat plane on his screen, that's a globe. Secondly, just admit that you've accidentally proven the globe with your graph. It showed that the linear drop rate on a flat Earth is impossible.
It's a horizontal plane. I was trying to explain perspective in an orthographic graph. Remember, orthographic is two-dimensional, perspective is three-dimensional. You do not have perspective in orthographic view. That's why I compressed it to kind of explain it that way. And now you're going to do the same thing with your sphere around it. So, in other words, let's carry on.
Some sort of miracle flat Earth proof.
Yeah, you tried and failed.
What did you show, guys? Cool. Well, what's these distances here on the equatorial plane, PT? Would that be the horizontal axis like I have in my graph?
Yeah, showing that your graph is based off a globe.
It's showing like he's going like 60, 70, 80 and he's doing a straight line up. That's not going to have line of sight to Polaris.
Nope. That's what I'm saying. That's why they take the co-altitude angle and they call that the convergence, which is false. So yeah, so guys, you can literally see on that sphere, he's taken the distances like I did, the compressed distances, in the equatorial plane, aka horizontal, and now he's literally saying I did magic when he just did exactly that on his sphere.
In fact, even that's not right in his model because...
Or in other words, he proved that your graph is based off a globe.
That's it, look, it's at the center of Earth.
What is?
Okay, you can't see it, but he's taken that and he's stuck on the horizontal.
I'm looking at dots we ran quarter of a sphere.
No, we passed that.
Oh, you passed that.
Yeah, we got the dots in the center of his Earth now, on the equatorial plane, in the same distances as what my graph was showing. Yeah.
Yep, once again, validating that your graph is based off a globe.
PD says, are you going to tell us how you align the spacing for your 600 nautical points? Still waiting for the math. Still waiting for the math. Okay, 5 minutes 24. What is that math there, PT?
That math is a linear relationship that, once again, does not work on a flat plane. That math precisely is derived from this. Once again.
Yeah, exactly that laugh. What is that math there, PT? Oh man. Yeah, even my face, look at that one. This is why we laugh at these guys. They don't get, it's insane. It's like, do they pay attention? Okay, let's get back.
Did I put any sphere math into this?
No.
I didn't. You know what that's called? Dishonesty.
Yeah, PT, that's what it's called, dishonesty to you. Again on screen, my math. Again on screen, horizontal baseline. No sphere whatsoever. Nothing, nada, zilch.
My goodness, this is truly amazing.
You taking what I explained in a perspective view, and you deliberately trying to say I did it on a sphere. So in other words, validating my point that you are translating it into a sphere based on a horizontal, on a 90 degree. It doesn't tell anyone what your spacing is compressed or distorted, it says exactly that. It gives the angle measurements. If you actually, let's quickly do this. Yeah, he thinks antipodal exists. Bob, so I'm going to ask you a question I've asked Dave McKeegan and many globe earthers before. If you are on your globe and you are antipodal from someone, let's say you on the top of your globe and someone's at the bottom of the globe, feet to feet, antipodal, and you dig a hole right through to them, and you jump feet first, are you going to come out feet first by the person underneath, or are you not going to come out there, or are you coming head out first? Please answer that. Yeah. So,
and it is dishonesty.
Yeah, you are dishonest.
5,400 nautical miles spanning 90 degrees of arc cannot also have a radius of 5,400. That's a complete impossibility, Flatside.
That's why it's called trying to explain perspective, PT. If you understand that, it's optical, PT. Why do you think it was compressed, PT?
Well, that's our question to you, Flatsoid.
I mean, if it worked out that way, would I need to compress it?
No, you shouldn't have compressed it. I mean, you shouldn't even have made it, because it ruins flat Earth.
No, it's compressed to show you by trying to explain perspective. Again, perspective is three-dimensional, orthographic is two-dimensional. You have to literally throw an axis away in an orthographic perspective to try and explain perspective.
Says you wouldn't make it all the way, but you would still be feet first.
Thank you, WheresWally. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. I've explained it many times why it's compressed, WheresWally.
No, you haven't. You've just made up excuses.
How about you and Bob, the science guy, coming together? Because Bob's just too scared to come in. You can hold his hand.
And you're conning your viewers trying to make them think that.
I haven't conned anyone. I've been quite open, haven't I?
Yep.
Literally been explaining it tons of times. I haven't contradicted anything I've been saying. I've been saying exactly the same thing because I've been open and I'm literally telling you flat out what's going on.
Once again, excuses.
WheresWally says, in orthographic view, there is no perspective. Yes, I've been stating that many times. Thank you for stating the obvious. Thank you.
Flatsoid, just deal with it. This graph, it's completely debunked you.
Anyway, that's enough of that. Let me say thanks again for all the recent subs. I really do appreciate it. And thanks very much for watching.
Yeah, guys, do go subscribe to PT. He's almost at 300 subs, so do go subscribe to him.
At least we can agree on one thing.
Although he is a dishonest, but subscribe to him.
Oh my goodness. Well, anyways, next he goes on a ramble about Sean Hawkins and more of his graphs. Let's quickly go through that before finishing off with Brian's Logic's video.
Let's do this.
How's it going?
PT, pay attention what's going on here, okay? Just pay attention. Yes.
I'm going to be away next week, so I probably won't be uploading out to YouTube. So I thought before I do go on holiday, I'll leave you a little gift. Let's put this heliocentric before to bed once and for all. You've accurately modelled reality, Sean.
Check at that. Remember, he made an actual real-life model trying to show it angles to Polaris, correct? You guys can
Pretty
see that.
good.
Okay. Pay attention what happens when he flattens that so-called curve.
Cool. How come only one of your 6 points to Polaris?
Exactly. Only 1 point, guys. Because when you actually do it, it's parallel, and it does not converge, which debunks your globe. Hey, Media Don, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. I haven't seen you in a while. I thought you ran away after our last debate. Hey, Flataholics Anonymous, thank you for coming, and Vape and Shred.
Parallel lines never converge.
Ooh. There we go. That's the same model, guys, which he just straightened out on the horizontal. So doing exactly what mine was, and it all converges what to Polaris.
What's this then, Sean?
This doesn't mean anything. And if this were an accurate graph, anyone standing at the end would easily be able to see Polaris.
It looks like you might possibly have accidentally proved Flatsoid correct. Sean.
No, he actually completely debunked him. Well done, Sean.
Polaris is right, it never changes. It just appears to sink towards the horizon as you move further away from it on a flat plane due to perspective.
The amount of times you guys have debunked flat Earth is amazing. Again, for that graph to work on a flat plane, the star must physically drop altitude.
So then, as you move away from it, your elevation angle gets smaller over distance. You moron.
Brilliant. So yeah, you can see it on screen, guys. Literally debunking himself. So yeah, this is my updated one that PT also decided not to show everybody, where I actually made the horizontal have the actual 600 nautical miles. If you see the line goes past, it creates an arc. But anyway, that was just for the fun of it.
Amazing flat Earth debunk yet again. You again can see that the star needs to physically drop altitude in order for this to work on a flat plane. You're doing the work for me. As you can see, that's similar to the one I did.
Let's go to the next one. This is me cutting that off and showing that it still goes to the same horizontal, same vertical.
And thanks again, Flatsoid. Same issue for flat Earth.
Blah, blah, blah. And then, what happens when you invert it? It makes a sphere.
That's not a sphere, but okay.
And what happens when you stick the 4 quadrants outwards? It makes the sphere.
You call that a sphere?
Just thought that was interesting. Well, anyway, the main point of this updated version was this one. If you paid attention when I was debating Media Don. The hypotenuse lines is what causes your so-called apparent curve. The hypotenuse distance, when laid one on top of the other, will give a sphere.
Goodness. Same thing again. Flatsoid. That is not a sphere.
Because the distances change with angles. You can go into look at it in more detail if you go watch the Media Don.
And that is everything for Flatsoid's response to PD194. That was literally a 40-minute response to a 6-minute video. But now let's go to the final video from Brian's Logic. I'll be quick to cover this one. I'm just covering this first video because WheresWally already debunked Brian's second video on the topic. Oh, and Flatsoid did too, if you remember from the beginning of this video.
This is this video is about Globers debunking the globe again. That's the title of it.
And mine is about flat earthers debunking flat earth. Let's see what you got.
The other day I went on to Flatside's channel and he was covering something from Wally, WheresWally, who's from Australia. Now, WheresWally really does believe that he's upside down from where I am. He really does believe he's on a globe. And I know he's not lying. He genuinely believes that he's upside down from me. Like, this guy believes this. I know he does. He's not just going along with it. He's a believer, right?
Yeah, if you're somewhere around North America or something, you're pretty much upside down relative to him. So what?
This is a complete debunk of rotation and Earth curvature all at once, right? So,
wow, can't wait.
Here we have the speed, right, of the Falcon Heavy, which is 2,485 kilometers an hour, right? Its altitude is 23.2. This is after 1 minute and 34 seconds. So I'm going to work off of 93 seconds, right? And it's been exactly 23 kilometers. Because I'd have to just go back a small bit, but that's exactly what it is. At 93 seconds, it's 23 kilometers high, right? Right. And this is 360, it's actually over 360 miles, 365 and plus miles away at Myrtle Beach. And it's seen here over the horizon, right? Just a couple of degrees, right? And the claim is supposed to be that somehow this debunked the Earth being flat and proved the globe. And I started laughing when I saw it. This is complete nonsense. I knew straight away how to debunk it, but I wasn't going to do anything about it. But I just said, why not? I said, why not? I'm not doing anything tonight. I may as well just debunk it. So I'm going to debunk it. So
amazing. Let's see the epic debunk.
I need to get just this a second. So here we have a calculator at 14.29 miles, right? That's what 23 kilometers is. It's 14.29 miles. 1 second now. I'm trying to go put that back down a sec. I'm back to here and just go up here and go there. So I want to get the calculator up in front of this. So 23 kilometers is 14.29. So I used 93 seconds, not 94, and 23 kilometers exactly, right? So 14.29 miles. So if I multiply this by 5,280 feet, right, which is a mile, it equals 75,451.2 feet. And if I then divide that by 93 seconds, we will get 811.303 feet a second, right?
You just divided its altitude by time to get an average vertical velocity. Not sure why, but keep going.
So if I then convert that length from feet to miles, we'll get 0.153 miles per second. And then if I multiply that again by 93, we will get 14.289, right? So
what was the point of that entire calculation? You just did a circular calculation, you divided its altitude by time to get an average vertical velocity, then multiplied it by time again to get the same altitude, all while just doing random unit conversions. What was the point of that?
So it is, mine was 14.29, this is 14.289, which is just 9999, so it's 14.29, right? So the speed it's traveling at matches the altitude exactly, right?
What? You just did a circular calculation? I understand what you did, but have absolutely no idea why you did it.
So it is for that rate of acceleration. Now, I wanted to take in an average because I wanted it to know to say he didn't deal with acceleration because they started hassling Flatside about that, even though he admitted that he wasn't taking into account acceleration in what he was talking about. The man admitted it, and they still tried to attack him on it. So I just did an average here of of it, just to show that that rate, right, of velocity, right, matches the height, the altitude, right, over time, whatever, right?
You did not allow for acceleration, Brian. Flatsoid didn't either. That's why his calculation made no sense. He acknowledged it with text in his video, but kept it in the video. If he were honest, he'd have removed it from his video.
So there you are, it matches it exactly, right?
No, again, you just did a circular calculation.
Now we go to this, right? So we have Wally here, right? And he's saying what should happen is 23 kilometers, right, which is 23,000 meters, should look something like this at 600 kilometers away in Myrtle Beach. So pad 39A, where the rocket, the Falcon Heavy, whatever took off, should be way up in the air, according to Wally, from Myrtle Beach, right? And he shows this down here, right? And I just, right? So according to Wally, this is what's happening. The Falcon Heavy, or whatever it is, I don't know if it's NASA or who it is, don't care, is after going straight up in the air.
Wrong. That's just showing the rocket's altitude at that point.
And you can only barely see it above the horizon from Myrtle Beach, and that means that it's a globe, right? And no why. So, for a start, that's not how it would happen. Now, I don't know what direction it actually took. It doesn't matter too much to me.
The direction it went is due east.
Don't know what direction it took, but whatever direction it would be taken, that is the path it would be taking, right? Because what they try and do, and I would say it shows like from pad 39A to Myrtle Beach is north to south. Now, if it's flying north to south, according to official globe rhetoric, north to south or south to north, then there is going to be a deviation underneath it, right?
Well, it is traveling due east, so not north or south. So what's your point?
So it should be deviating, right? If it's flying north to south or south to north, it should be deviating, according to globe rhetoric. There is always a deviation north to south, south to north. They claim that there isn't one west to east and east to west. This is what they try to claim. But they can't claim that, regardless of what direction the shuttle is supposed to be taken. They can't claim that with shuttles, because the whole point of the shuttle is it's supposed to be leaving the globe Earth's atmosphere. So it's supposed to be, right, taking an arc path because the globe is rotating away from it or whatever, right? And it's supposed to be, right, escaping the globe Earth's atmosphere to go off out into outer globe space, right? That's what it's supposed to do.
Yes. And what's your point?
Now, as I showed earlier, that exact 23,000 meters matches the speed exactly. So if there was if like you're flying north to south exactly, I could say fair enough up to a point, right?
But why? The rocket was not traveling north or south at all.
But it still doesn't match the globe. Like, if they're going to shoot these things to supposedly leave the globe Earth's atmosphere, then they try to do it against rotation often at time. Or so the whole point is that they're using it. Their claim is that they're using the globe to help the rocket escape velocity.
The rocket was not reaching escape velocity, Brian, just orbital velocity.
Out of the globe's atmosphere, right? That's the whole claim, right? But either way, there was absolutely no globe rotation taken into account whatsoever, right? Because even if it did fly directly north to south, let's say Myrtle Beach is south and pad whatever 39A is north.
Wrong. Myrtle Beach is north of pad 39A.
Of that, then there still has to be a deviation. Even if it's only a minute and a half, there has to be a deviation, right? There has to be a deviation because Myrtle Beach has to be going east, has to be heading east. So this would have to be to the west of Myrtle Beach, either way. So I can't see anything here that shows that there was any rotation or movement of any Earth whatsoever. There is no, it doesn't happen anyway, but the point is that there is nothing here that does anything but prove that the Earth is stationary.
Hey, Brian, other than the fact that the rocket is going due east, so not north or south at all, how much would the globe rotate in that short amount of time, such as 95 seconds or even 3 minutes?
This straight line up nonsense that Wally did is like, what are you doing? That is not what they do.
Quick warning, the next minute of this video is Brian straw manning Wally and getting stuff wrong. I'll play the entire thing sped up. Feel free to skip 1 minute if you'd like.
So here is what Wally did, right? Let's say this is Myrtle Beach. He tried to, let's say, no, this is not scaled. The point is that, as you can see, it's just over 2 boxes here. Just over 2 boxes is the height of this, right? Above this here, let's say that's the globe out here, right? He did this and tried to calculate this as some kind of how this person would only barely see it above the horizon, right? This is why I'm trying to say, let's say that's 23 kilometers and this is 600 kilometers away, or 14.29 miles and that is 365.54 miles away, right? He tried to make it like that into some kind of a globe proof, but no, right? Because on a globe, it would have to be doing that. That's what it has to do. So for on a globe, for the rocket to get that distance, that's the exact distances. This between here and here is the same distance as between here and here. That's what it has to do on a globe. The whole point is that it's moving against the rotation or whatever, and it's using the rotation to escape, escape their atmosphere, escape velocity, all that rubbish, right? It doesn't do this, right? You only do something, this kind of thing only happens on a flat plane if you want to calculate it that way. Now, even on a flat plane, they're not going to be flying, as I said, straight up. They're going to make an arc to make, if they're trying to fool people into thinking that they're on a globe and they're flying against rotation. That's the whole point of the arcs they show in the sky. It's like it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be leaving the globe Earth's atmosphere and it's flying against the rotation. It's escaping the atmosphere and it's going to escape and go off out into do heap of nonsense out in the middle of nowhere. But there's a problem, right?
Well, that was one giant straw man. Let's start off with the fact that, again, Wally is not claiming that the rocket took a trajectory straight up. That was just the vertical plumb showing the rocket's altitude at that point. Let's see what else you've got before ending this already nearly hour-long video.
Out in the middle of nowhere. But there's a problem, right? So we just come down here, right? Here we have Myrtle Beach, 600 kilometers away. And here is just there. Here we have, just above the horizon here, lovely flat horizon, we have the rocket, right? And then he puts this one in as well, and he adds Bev in. Now, here we are again, Bev. Like, as I said, I don't talk to Bev these days. I'm not interested in whatever Bev is doing, right? But I know for definite Bev doesn't care about rockets. Right? If there's one thing Bev doesn't care about, it's rockets. He doesn't give a damn about rockets or propulsion systems.
Well, I do care about rockets a lot, as you can probably tell from the background footage I've been using, and that's precisely why I am making this video. Anyways, Wally couldn't care less if Bev doesn't like rockets, but keep going.
Or claimed missions to Mars. Right? Bev's not interested in them at all. Right? So he's adding in Bev again for some God knows what crazy reason, because they have a problem. Right? And here is a close-up or clear of the supposed rocket, remember, 14.29 miles above, after traveling 14.29 miles in altitude. And here it is seen from Myrtle Beach, right? So we just go back a second to this one. Now, here is the WheresWally character, and here is, as you can see, it's just a couple of degrees above the horizon. If you come back to here, you can see it's hard to see it there because it's only I'll try and, it's only a bad photo, but you can barely see it there, right? But what it actually is, just come back to, right? It's actually that much above the horizon, right? So this is just about, when it's at 14.29 miles for 23 kilometers. So, just before we do that, just want to show something, right? Right, where are we? Right, where are we? Oh, I don't have it there. Anyway, the exact distance is, where did I put that? Or here, is it here? Let's see. I just want to make sure I have the exact. They say it's 600 kilometers, but it's actually just under 600 kilometers. And in miles, the exact distance is 365.54 miles, right? And the height is 14.29 miles, right? If we use an angular size, right? Which obviously takes, angles. So you're talking flat plane. So we're talking a flat plane all the way between Myrtle Beach, and that person's obviously at the water line there. So between Myrtle Beach to wherever the rocket is over, it's 14.29 miles high in the sky. And it would be at the distance of 365.54 miles, it would be 2.23 degrees. So 2.2 degrees, that's what it would be, 2.2 degrees from Myrtle Beach. If you were to use a trigonometry, then that's what you would have. So I would definitely hedge a guess that, without a doubt, that's about 2.2 degrees, right?
For reference, a full moon diameter is about 0.5 degrees in angular size. Now, do you think you can fit 4 full moons there, Brian? I didn't think so either. It seems that you forgot the camera is zoomed in a bit, Brian. Well, when Wally was debunking your second video about this, he made this reference here. This probably isn't the exact frame he used it on, so it might not be exact, but it will be close enough. Brian, that rocket isn't even a degree above the horizon. It looks like all you've ended up doing here is debunking your flat Earth prediction.
So I don't know where they're going with this. This is pretty sad. I mean, you couldn't debunk the globe more, like, especially with Wally showing this like straight up thing here. Like, you couldn't debunk it more. Like, so if it is for exactly 14.29 miles from the surface of the Earth, right? Then, like, and the thing about it is, it actually may not even be, because if they're flying it in an arc, because I'm going to use the flat plane here because that's the reality. So if they're flying it in an arc, right, to get to the height of 14.29 miles, they're talking in a distance, right? It may not be, it may be altitude above, I don't know. But the point is that to get to 14.29 miles, it's going to only be 2.2 degrees from Myrtle Beach as an angle. So that's 2.2 degrees. Here he is showing Bev, 2.2 degrees, easily 2.2 degrees. Maybe even, it's definitely 2.2 degrees above the horizon now.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
No doubt about it. Maybe a little bit more, actually. It looks like it could even be a bit more, 3 degrees maybe 4. But it's definitely a few degrees above the horizon. So I don't know what Wally's up to, or any PT or any of these other people, but they've just completely debunked the globe. Here it is there, a close-up. I mean, if that is it at 600 kilometers away, and that is 23 kilometers high in the sky, and if it actually is just a straight line up, and it is exactly like from its sub point underneath on the Earth, if that is exactly close on 600 kilometers away, and that is 23 miles or 23 kilometers high, then I mean, this could easily be 4 degrees even. Do you know what I mean? If we were to add in celestial refraction, but there's no need to. It looks could even be just 2.5, something like that. Doesn't matter. The point is that globe is debunked.
Enough with the guessing, Brian. All you've managed to do here is debunk flat Earth.
And just to finish off, I'm coming on to this. This turned up as well. Now, I didn't listen to the video. I just pulled these slides out. I didn't listen to any of it. Right? He has this 90. Where are you getting this 90 out of with this gravitational equipotential? This is a curved surface, Wally. So where are they going off? Where are they, like, why can't these people get this? 90 degrees requires a horizontal and a vertical straight line that are perpendicular to each other. This is not perpendicular. This is a curved line. This is not horizontal. So this is an obtuse angle here. This is an obtuse angle, not a right angle. So I don't know why he has 90 degrees in there. They're just not learning. Look, Wally's not a bad guy. He's okay, but he is a believer. Petey's not a bad guy either, but he does tend to attack without doing his homework. So they really need to have a think about this, because they've debunked rotation, right? They've debunked rotation here with this, because there should be some kind of rotation being taken into account here, and they've debunked curvature with this. This is obviously like 2.2 degrees, 3 degrees above the horizon.
No, Brian, it's not.
So I really don't know. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's like, it is what it is. I mean, you can't even bring in celestial refraction into it because it's not celestial. I don't know what to say. Like, but even though it might appear a little bit higher, it does appear to be pretty high. If that is the same, if that is the same as that, just a more clear. So that's rotation and curvature debunked all at one time. Well done, lads. I mean, how do you do it? I can't get this. I'm going to stop the video because it's getting ridiculous. Anyway, look, thanks for watching. It's over again for the globe. Good night.
Well, that's the end of his video. This video is already over an hour long, so I have to hope that it'll actually render. Thanks for watching. Nope, that's a lie. I forgot. One more fail from Flatzoid. Let's speed through this one quickly.
I mean, I actually think Brian's logic has managed to debunk himself with all this anyway, because 6 months ago, fellow blogger channel WheresWally put a video out showing...
I remember this. WheresWally proving it's not Earth curve. Yeah, WheresWally, remember when we said it showed further away, so angular resolution limit? So it took longer to show? Weird. Ignore that, by the way.
In the USSF 67 Falcon Heavy launch, and the video was from multiple different locations around the area, showing how the rocket didn't become visible in the locations further away until it had got much higher altitude and much longer after launch, because it had to get over the curve.
No, it didn't. Note how small the rocket is at further distances compared to closer distance. This cow's small, that cow far away. Big. Same thing, Mr. McKeegan. Really? It's far away, so it takes longer to get into view because it had to get past. Remember how I drew the floor? Let's draw the ocean this time for you. Maybe this will make more sense to you. You standing here, okay, and another person standing here, watching a rocket. Here. This guy sees it quickly. Why? Because the angle is nice and big. This guy doesn't see it quickly. Why? Because the angle is small. Okay? What is the largest angle this guy sees? What does he see most of? The sky? The ground. This whole section is resolvable to him. Before this is resolvable to him when he gets to the line to be able to see. Uh-oh. Also note that he's looking through a whole bunch of air and water vapor and smog and dust. Uh-oh. Really, David Keegan? Is this the best you got? By the way, guys, if you haven't already subscribed to Brian's Logic, definitely well with it.
But one of the locations was Myrtle Beach, 360 miles away from the launch site, and Brian's attempt to debunk it was to show one frame of video as the rocket comes into view and try claiming that the rocket is in front of the horizon. The horizon is behind where it was going.
Well, Flatzoid, everything you just said was wrong because we can see the extremely bright, flaming exhaust from the rocket, even if the rocket itself is too small. And Brian already disproved the flat Earth with the angular size thing a few minutes ago. Well, I'm rushing now, so that's the end. Thanks for watching.